What do you think is your toughest thing that you do for the festival?
Have to deal with City Hall.
Thank you guys for joining us on the Elation podcast today, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. Today we are with the famous Ryan Batiste, aka Shag. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. It's great to be here, dude.
Absolutely, man. It's good to see you. Good to have you. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but let's just get started. Where you from? What schools you went to? And go from there.
So I am born and raised from New Orleans. I've been here the majority of my life. I went to New Orleans Charter Science and Math High, but I also did NOCA as well, which was I did the whole 4 years with NOCA, and we would go for half the day.
Right.
And I did that, and I take the most pride. Shout out to Sci High too, but take the most pride in NOCA.
I got you. So they're awesome over there, I hear.
Man, they did the wonders.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, coming from a musical family, it makes sense you go to schools like that and started art young. So you started, I mean, pretty much from a baby, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I can. My mom and pop can vouch for the pots and pans type stories and things like that. I definitely always had music in front of me, and I always saw my family doing it. Ever since I could remember, like, we were always at Jazz Fest and French Quarter Fest and things like that. And I can't remember a festival in general.
Right. Absolutely. No, it makes sense. I mean, you guys were a huge part of the music culture down
here. Right. Yeah.
A hell of a lineage, man. It's just crazy.
I appreciate that.
Was it ever competitive in the family and stuff, or?
Yeah, I'd say honestly, not really, because I don't think anybody looked at it like a competition. You know what I mean? We would always help each other and just invite each other to play, and we love playing music, and we would all be doing what we love to do with the people who we love too.
Right.
So
piano in the house, everybody was surrounding, and just what's great about music is, I mean, obviously it's competitive in certain natures, but at the same time, I feel like you could always add another band member.
Yeah, absolutely.
especially when everybody's talented. There's a place for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's very brings everybody together. Well, so what instrument did you start playing first?
I started playing the drums first. My brother Russell, who recently passed, and I want to say 23, he bought me my first drum set. And that's where I started off. That's where my love of drums came from in general, because he was such a powerful, impactful drummer, like you said, in the New Orleans community in general and beyond. And he really sparked the love for, percussion in my life. Personally.
I got you. And what do you play now?
A couple of different instruments, still mainly the drums, but honestly, I've been playing keys more than anything.
Right.
And that's sad because I'm a drummer, and you know what I mean? I play guitar, and I teach music too. So by, trade, I have to learn how to play some of the brass instruments like trumpet, trombone, tuba, baritone.
That's awesome.
I know I play flute.
That's awesome.
I think that's the only woodwind instrument that I can play. But
wind instruments are a whole different level of play.
Yeah.
From guitar and drums.
Yes, definitely. I tried the saxophone when I was in high school, and it didn't work out pretty well. I don't think I was ever able to even get a sound out the whole reed situation. I just didn't understand the concept. But yeah.
Wow. And breath control, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. It just wasn't for me.
So my grandfather played the trumpet.
Okay.
But he played it in the Navy band. But he played it as a kid too. He actually played on in an orchestra at his school in Kentucky. But sadly enough, he never played for me. I think it was like, by the time I was born, it was something that was like in the past, and I don't know, he just never really brought it up. But I was always intrigued by wind instruments, really because of the story.
Yeah, for sure.
But I definitely know they're difficult to play.
Yeah.
Well, so tell me a little bit about your career and where what type of artists did all of that lead to for
Mhm.
you? Like, what kind of artistry do you put out?
Man, honestly, I really just do my own thing. I do whatever is in front of my plate. You know what I'm saying? Like however I'm feeling, I wake up and I mean, I plan out the week, you know what I'm saying? But I just kind of go off of how I'm feeling, especially when I'm making music. I don't
Mhm.
really go into it with any thought like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I can, and I've tried that before,
Mhm.
but I just go into it. I always tell my friends, I just let God, you know what I'm saying, do his
Whatever
thing,
starts
whatever
to
start
work.
exactly,
Yeah.
whatever sounds I'm choosing, whatever melody I'm hearing or whatever
Yeah.
like that, I just kind of go and I just, make it happen
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I kind of produce the same way because, so I produce a little bit, and but I don't know music theory very well. And
Mhm,
as far as off the top of my head, I feel like I can hear it, but
mhm.
I can't necessarily like tell
Mhm.
you music theory and
Yeah.
and describe it to
Mhm.
you. So for me, I go in and I just kind of start hitting things until something works,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
you go
yeah,
from
yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I feel like you get authentic sounds
Mhm.
when you do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, and you'd be surprised. It's not a shady shot, but a lot of musicians don't know what they're doing, like from that
Oh yeah,
aspect too.
no, so
So
what's funny is my first production team in Florida that I put together, or a couple guys we all put together. One of them was a drummer from University of Miami. He was a
mhm,
jazz percussionist,
mhm.
brilliant drummer, one of the best drummers I've ever been around. Ask him to do a drum solo, ain't gonna happen.
Mm,
It's off.
mhm.
It's because he's too technical.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And so and a lot of the guitarists that I was been around are the same way. Like when they're very technical, very music theory, very school
Yeah,
oriented,
exactly.
um, they're amazing.
Mhm.
But then ask them to do something off the
They
cuff,
don't have the soul for it.
no.
Absolutely. No, I totally understand. And what I like I said, I teach and I tell my kids that all the time. Like we're gonna definitely prepare you to test into a program
Right,
because that can get you a scholarship and stuff like that. But we also practice improvisation, you know what I'm saying, and kind of just going off the whim, just on site, you know what I mean, and
right,
just doing your own thing and coming up with your own, building your own story. I tell them it's all the time. You tell your story. These are the notes that you can, and maybe you can use some other notes too. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Do what sounds good. It feels good. You
This
know
is
what
a
I mean?
base.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a
100%.
base, and take it and make it your own.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree.
But yeah, no, it's tough, man, because I look up to the people that know all of that stuff,
Right. Yeah. It's
but
fancy.
it's fancy, and but it also makes me feel like, oh man, you've put in years and time and
Yeah.
effort and things that I don't necessarily understand and haven't put in the effort to yet.
Hmm.
So I looked up to that. I
Absolutely.
was actually very careful to call myself a producer for a long time.
Nah, I get it.
I just said beat maker for forever
I get
because
it. Oh.
I didn't I didn't want a musician to look down on me for saying,
Hmm.
that I'm a producer.
What's this podcast about? That's funny, nah, because that's definitely a conversation, the beat maker versus producer thing. I've kind of I kind of like settled my opinion on it as well, and it's like as long as you're making what sounds good for the person who's listening to it, call yourself whatever.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's funny. I played some music for Tribal and Shorty, and I
nice.
was obviously like, his musicianship is crazy,
Hmm.
and so I played it, and he was like, "Oh man, I like it." He's like, "You made that?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "But I don't really know music theory or any of that stuff, so I'm just kind of going off the cuff." And he goes, "It sounds good. It's all that
Hmm.
matters." And
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
kind of settled me a little bit,
Hmm.
like because I'm definitely playing for guys like that. You
Yeah, right.
take a
Yeah,
deep breath.
for sure. Absolutely. No, I totally get you,
You
man.
know?
I get it, man.
Well, so tell me about some of those festivals. I know you were growing up around them and being involved in them and
Hmm.
all that stuff, and now you're kind of doing them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I do my own festival, Locals Fest. We're going on year number 6 now.
Wow.
And what you call it? We do it in Armstrong Park. We've been doing it in Armstrong Park ever since. And yeah, man, it's a great addition to the culture of New Orleans. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I always say it's just given, not just like it's, I'm belittling it or anything, but it's given another platform.
Right.
It's not the only, it's not a super exclusive, it's given another platform for artists, you know what I'm saying, to come perform, you know what I mean? And for different businesses that
Mm-hmm.
have really good product and services and stuff like that to get into a festival, especially because the cost to get into some of these festivals are super high in the
Absolutely.
thousands even. You know, so obviously for everybody that's not the everyday average person, that's not attainable, you know what I'm saying, or
Absolutely.
sustainable or whatever. You know what I mean? Every now and then you can take a chance. But
Well,
yeah,
you got
man,
to
we just
invest in music.
yeah, of
You
course,
know,
of
you
course,
got to
of
invest in
course.
your music for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
But no,
yeah.
I understand what you
Yeah,
mean.
you get it.
Well, so where is it,
Mhm.
and how many bands only perform?
We do it in Armstrong Park in the heart of the French Quarter. What you call it? And we have anywhere between, depending on how many stages we run. We did 2 stages one year, but between like 7 to 10 bands
I got you.
throughout the whole course of the day from like 11 to 7.
I got you. And you got food and
Yep.
everything,
Oh yeah, food, drinks, all everything. VIP,
sponsors
yeah,
and stuff like
absolutely. Yep.
sponsor tents. That's awesome, man.
Always looking for sponsorships.
Okay. All
Shameless
right.
plug,
All
shameless
right.
plug.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
man. I used to do, well, I've done a few festivals,
Mhm.
more car show related stuff as
Yeah.
far as fest goes. But I booked some, some artists and acts, and I
Mhm.
understand that start a festival is a tough gig because there's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff involved.
Yeah, man.
What do you think is your toughest thing that you do for the festival?
Have to deal with City Hall. I'm serious. I'm
Oh
serious.
yeah.
Like you said, just the paperwork, you know what I'm saying, getting the permits, the applications, the licensing, getting a timely response, you know what I mean?
Right.
Shout out to City Hall. Y'all are great people, but you know what I mean? I think that that's like the biggest thing that, I guess that's not the most enjoyable part of it, doing the
Correct. Oh
paperwork
yeah,
versus
no, that
booking the
never is.
artists and talking to them and you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
absolutely.
know.
Yeah, I always say my biggest headache was rain insurance.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Because you do an outdoor event,
Yes.
rain insurance is not cheap.
Absolutely, 100%, exactly, for sure.
But that was always my hiccup. I did not like doing that stuff.
Mhm.
But the setup, the security, the logistics, the
Yep.
ticketing,
Mhm.
is it a free festival?
Yep, it's free, it's open to the public. We do have VIP, purchasable options where, you know what I'm saying, you get a nicer experience, but yeah, it is free and open to the public, and we usually have free parking right behind the Mahalia Jackson Theater, so you can pull up and park right there. Everything's
Oh, that
all
makes it easy.
literally, it's all in one.
That's
You know
awesome.
what I mean? Yeah,
That's awesome. What
thank you.
type of music would you say it involves?
Mhm. I think we give a little bit of everything, honestly, because that's one thing that I definitely, going into the reason why I made the festival myself. But sometimes I feel like New Orleans gets caught up on only jazz or only second line or only, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And not, we do a little bit of everything, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And a lot of it is really good and it should be in a festival, which is,
Right.
like I said, that's the root reason why I created the festival because I knew my band was super dope. We applied for the big festivals. I ain't gonna say no names and stuff
Right.
like that, but you know what I'm saying? It's been year after year that we didn't get the opportunity. And I took the old saying, if you don't have a seat at the table, make your
Make
own
your own
table.
table.
And for 6 years, I've made my table and have been able to invite other people to come eat at the table with me. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Which
Yeah,
is the best part about it.
absolutely. That's the same theory as this building.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
Elation was that same theory. I
Yeah.
was in LA. I'm born and raised here, but
Hmm.
I was in LA for 9 years,
Hmm.
and every year got a little bit. I didn't enjoy it personally.
Yeah.
It was great for business,
Hmm.
And great for what I did, and I
Hmm.
needed it.
Yeah.
And I love LA for that. But
Hmm.
at the end of 9 years, I was like, man, I got to go home.
Yeah.
And but every time I would come home visiting family, I would realize that because I would try to do some music here,
Hmm.
and I realized how far behind we
Hmm.
were on industry standard for local artists,
Absolutely.
and how they don't even understand how far behind they are.
Yeah, for real.
And even having those conversations with them is tough because it's like it almost makes you feel like you're making them depressed, like
Hmm.
like telling them you're not even close
Yeah, dude,
to
for
where
real.
you need to be
Yeah.
to break anything,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
whether they're working hard or not, if you can't properly release something or you can't properly showcase it marketing wise, I mean you're just kind of blowing in the wind right now.
Absolutely.
So my thought was, I'm a nobody in New Orleans music industry wise. I'm
Mhm.
gonna come home though, and I'm gonna build a building
Yeah.
that gives them the industry that I learned in LA,
Yeah.
and
Right.
see if I can help the culture
Mhm.
learn how fast they have to move.
Yeah. That's dope, man. That's dope.
Because you haven't seen the building yet, but there's five music studios, there's a Dolby Atmos room, there's a 30-foot
Oof.
psych wall, there's green screens, there's
Mm.
content creation zones,
Yeah.
there's hair and makeup, there's conference rooms. You literally, it's a label building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. For sure.
and nowadays an artist has to be his own label. So come
Absolutely.
in and use the building and create
There it
the
is.
same thing a label would do for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But do it in one day.
I'm interested.
You know.
Go ahead. You got my attention for sure.
So it just it's festivals alike, they need to be more um flexible on some of those local artists that need to be seen and heard,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially someone like you. I mean, I'm kind of blown away that they wouldn't let you on the stage.
Man, year after year. And I always would just, like I said, try to come up with whatever solution. And I can like give the backstory on that. Like my brother, Damon, everybody, all of my brothers, with the musical family and stuff like that, they all played their own piece in
Right.
my life. And I learned about business and how to do things, you know what I'm saying, business wise from my brother Damon. Shout out Damon. And eventually, like I said, I just started to put the pieces together on how can I do this myself? How can we get in our own building? You know what I mean? How
Right.
can we get in our own and just do our own situation? And after a lot of hard work, I'm sure you can relate, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? A lot of hard work, a lot of study and research and stuff like that. Finally, eventually found a way to make it happen.
That's awesome, man.
You
No,
know?
and good for you, because I mean, life's not about quitting.
Yeah.
Just because you get a no doesn't mean you should just sit back and put your hands,
Yeah.
hit behind your back and just sit.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you gotta
Absolutely.
you gotta get up and try something else, make it work.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think was your favorite performance at the festival so far?
Hmm. 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 Um, I feel like, well, we've been doing it for 6 years, the first year. I mean, I don't want to by default say my brother, because in 23, I had the opportunity to hire his band to come play at the festival. And my brother Jamal too. I think I got him the year afterwards. So maybe my brothers, but if I had to take my family out of the equation,
Uh-huh.
shoot, man, how they performed.
Okay.
Tanya Boyd Cannon, she just recently performed. We had Higher Heights, the reggae band. They were
They
super
put on
really
a
good.
great show.
Yeah, they put up, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to say anything and have
Yeah,
somebody
no,
mad at me, but
just a couple shout
yeah,
outs
yeah,
is all
yeah,
we
yeah,
were
yeah, for
looking
sure,
for,
for sure.
I know it's tough because
Mhm.
everybody's a good musician at the end of the day that you put on
Yeah,
stage, that's for
yeah.
sure. Well, tell me a little bit about your music and
Mhm,
your latest album you're putting out.
mhm,
What's going on with it?
mhm. I just put out, not even just, but my most recent album that I dropped was Shag's House. Like I said, I went from Shagadelic to Shag.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I turned 30 more, I think that was the thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more of a rebrand, a little more
Mm-hmm.
mature, sort of, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying, sort of situation.
Absolutely.
And Shag's House was the first album that I put out with that title, and I did that, I want to say last year, yeah. Um, but I just dropped a single last Friday. I'm just releasing a whole bunch of music, man. I think that's the biggest takeaway from that question,
Right.
is that I'm just starting to put a lot more music out because I realized that I have a whole bunch of completed, ready to roll out music on my hard drive that has been done now sometimes for some time, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And you don't want it to, I mean, you don't want it to not, good music will always be, relevant, and it'll always sell. Um, or be impactful rather.
Right.
But I just had a whole bunch of stuff on my hard drive, and
It
I'm
does
like,
no good in your computer.
yeah, what is this doing?
Does
And I
not.
think
Yeah.
what it is like in my mind, I guess I was waiting, not even like like I'm waiting for the perfect moment, or just if there was an opportunity where I could play my best stuff, and once again, kind of realizing that maybe I have to create the opportunity. Once again, make the table, you know what I'm saying? And
absolutely,
I'm just letting it rain with the
well,
music.
and that's part of today's industry we have to all kind of learn and move into, in a sense. Like, honestly, with 200,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify a day, it's kind of hard to even, digress how you break into anybody's mindset. So for me, I always tell people, like, sync now is where you start about,
for sure.
but you can't approach anything with sync if it's not been released.
Absolutely.
So my thing is, just put it out. It's done.
Yeah,
Mix, master it, throw it out.
Right.
And shoot a little couple, 10, 30-second videos promote for a month, in and out, and go to the next.
Exactly.
And now it's out, and now you can manipulate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's honestly the game.
Absolutely.
Now, and then you'll pop one every now and then, hopefully.
100%, absolutely.
But it's just tough, man. It's tough. We got the world at our fingertips, but it's hard to get the world head to turn.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
I agree with that.
Without doing some skit that breaks your moral compass,
right, integrity.
But no, man. Well, that's good. So, what's your plan on future music? Is you got a couple thoughts in your head about things you want to do?
Yeah, I was recently just kind of toggling around with the thought on my own of, have I released my best music yet? And I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I released a lot of great stuff, and it is like stuff that, I am super proud of. But I don't think I released my greatest music yet, especially because, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like Prince. He was playing all the instruments on his records and stuff like that, and I know that I can do a similar sort of thing. I think that when I start putting a lot more like actual music back into it, then, you know what I'm saying, that is when I'm really going to crank out some of my best, material and stuff like that. So like, that's really what I'm doing right now. I got a bunch of records that I've done that I'm super happy about, super proud about. We're going to get those out. Like you said, we're getting them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not even like with the intention to go viral or catch fire somewhere, because, I do it for my own personal elation.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I do it for me personally. So, I enjoy the fact that it's out more than I feel like anybody. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get those records out, but I'm definitely going to get back into my music bag, you know what I'm saying? Getting my live instruments back into, the equation a lot more, putting bridges and songs again, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's really like the golden era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, bridges and skits.
Yeah,
I miss both of those.
Absolutely, exactly.
Yeah,
you know
it
what
gave
I mean?
a personality to an album.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, 100%.
It gave that, okay, I'm going to take it here just to mess with you.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And
100%.
those are the parts that stick, in my opinion, a lot of times.
Absolutely. 100%.
Bridges and skits. It's funny you said that. But, well, that's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about what it was like to have your brother on the Super Bowl stage.
Cousin.
A cousin.
No,
sorry.
you good.
Sorry. My bad.
John, no, that's all good. What you call it? Because to me, I wanted brothers like my age. All of my brothers are like way older than, not way, but they're older than me. So I, anybody who's close to my age is my brother.
Right.
What you call it? But John, seeing him on the Super Bowl stage is just, once again, reiterating, you're the man,
Right.
Just once again, like I see it every Grammy nomination, award nomination, overseas, playing this, doing the Carnegie Hall,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? All the things that I'm working towards, you know what I'm saying, doing myself and things like that. Great person to a great model, you know what I mean? That's modeling, you know what I mean, the lifestyle.
Well, it's got to feel good too, like having your family name represented.
Of course, 100%, absolutely.
On a big estate, one of the biggest stages in America.
Stages in the world, exactly.
In the world,
sure.
I thought it was. I thought, the halftime show was what it was and it was fun, it was fine. But I thought the intro to how they opened and started the game was a very good representation of New Orleans.
I thought they killed it, honestly. A lot of people were, can we curse?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people were talking shit, but
Yeah.
I think personally, that right there, because people were like, I wanted to see New Orleans in the show more. I'm like, they started it off. Harry Connick Jr., you know what I'm saying? Trombone Shorty.
Yeah, the whole intro.
Like literally.
The
you know
whole
what I mean?
intro, man.
Like,
I was very happy. And actually I thought even the commentary before they started all that stuff, when they were out on Bourbon Street, I mean, they
did a great
really
job.
did a great job, in my opinion, of making New
job.
Orleans seem fun.
Absolutely, 100%.
You know, and when I looked at it, I was happy of how they represented it, and that doesn't always happen
at all.
You know,
definitely. They killed it.
Yeah, I think they killed it. And what did you think about the halftime show?
Man, the halftime show, I think Kendrick is always going to do a great job at whatever he does. Definitely that. And I think that he used the moment to you know, speak on a specific message, you know what I'm saying, that he wanted to get off. And I think that was important. And I think that somebody had to do it. You know what I mean? I think somebody had to do it.
Well, and I think, you know, I think people that didn't understand it or I guess didn't necessarily like it was, first of all, they're not necessarily probably a fan of rap too much. Because, you know, the way I tried to explain it to a few people is, you know, every word that Kendrick said he wrote. Who do you want him to bring out?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
like that is it. That's him. That's his music. You know, there's not a band, there's not this. He did everything, you know, and there's a producer who he brought out.
Absolutely.
You know, and so to me it was like I understood it because I understand his art.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I also appreciated what he did, you know, because he stuck true to his art and himself. So that's all you can ask of an artist, a true artist.
Absolutely.
You know, don't get up there and do some dumb shit that's out of your realm.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and, you know, or do some crazy, stupid, like bad performance, like Black Eyed Peas was horrible. You know, they were so bad.
I got to go back to that.
It was so bad. It was so bad. And as much as, you know, we enjoy their music, the show was so bad.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
but what he did, in my opinion, was great. You know,
I think he did good too, man. I think I think a lot of people, and I do see the other side of people wanted fireworks and they wanted, you know what I'm saying, ass shaking and stuff like that. They wanted that. And I understand why. It's a football halftime show, you know what I'm saying? I heard somebody say he should have did that at the Kamala Harris rally, you know? And it's like, I mean, I
can't argue with that.
You know, I get it. He's trying to make a political statement. I get it. It does make sense. Instead of, you know, the twerking and stuff like that, you know what I mean? That they did have, you know.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, I get it. And so I do see the other side of it. Like, okay, it was a little bit boring. He didn't have a lot of, you know, bang going on as far as excitement and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's not Chris Brown. He's not going to be flipping on a bike on a wire. He's not, you know, he's not. Be that in the first place. Michael Jackson. He did his art.
Exactly.
Like if you are a fan of Kendrick, you watch that and you were like, this is awesome.
Absolutely, 100%.
You know?
And when he was a part of the West Coast thing that they did, I think in 2022, that was one of my favorite Kendrick performances when he had all of the dancers synchronized. They did the military styles thing. It was super cool.
Which was my argument why it shouldn't have been him. Because he had, even though it was his moment,
right.
He just had a moment.
He kind of had one. Yeah, he did.
So feel like it should have been somebody else.
No, I agree.
Personally.
I agree.
But
you think it should have been Lil Wayne?
You know what's funny is as much as and I hate to talk shit because Juvie's a tenant here. But as much as I love Wayne, he's not a great performer. You know, not anymore.
I get it.
You know, but when he was skateboarding, bringing guitars out and stuff like that, that was Wayne. That could have done a Super Bowl.
100%.
He's just not that rock star anymore.
I said the same thing, dude. I said if he could have incorporated all of the theatrics into the show, I think that he definitely could have did it.
Yeah.
If it's just him by himself, that's for some people, and it's not for some people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more of like a maybe so, maybe let's look at somebody else. I think he could have did it if he had more theatrics. One of my friends said that's not Lil Wayne. He don't really have that, but I think he did at one point in time.
Yeah, no, he was a great performer.
Exactly.
Well, you know, he didn't start off that way. When he was a kid, he wasn't a great performer.
Of course.
Then he moved into the rock star lane,
Exactly.
and he was doing stuff. He was smashing guitars on stage.
Yeah.
He was skateboarding on stage.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, for
and
sure.
being more of an artist on stage.
I get it. 100%.
And then he just kind of turned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. You know, but I mean, his songs definitely are worth being on that stage.
Yeah, 100%.
I almost feel like if you were going to do a New Orleans moment, that should have been the Hot Boys reunion.
That would have been fire too.
Like
that would have been.
That should have been the Hot Boys reunion. If you were really going to do Wayne, you're going to do all that. Make that the come out, you know, which would have been a smash for them. But I don't know, Wayne by himself, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, maybe it would have had to have a little bit more to it, you know. Shout out to Wayne, of course.
Shout out to Wayne.
You know,
now,
of course.
Although he could have brought out some crazy song features,
it would have been fire.
Like because he wouldn't have had to do a whole song. He would have just.
Everybody saw the vision,
right?
You know what I'm saying? But just question: is
how many artists could he have brought out? Like
everybody.
You know, it would have been a show with 50 artists. You know, and that would have been nuts.
Yeah, 100%.
Just do all your feature songs.
Everybody saw the vision.
Yeah.
Everybody saw. Oh yeah, he could have did this. He could have did that. He could have started with Lollipop.
There, he could have just stood in one space and let all the artists do all the other stuff.
Yeah, man. I agree.
So I don't know. You know, but maybe we'll have a moment again. I mean, I feel like Super Bowl is done very well here, and I feel like they in the NFL and the people enjoy it being here. So maybe we'll get it again in 5-6 years.
Hopefully so.
You know, but I you know, I know you do a lot of things. You teach, you do music. You're very into your art. You're very into, you know, to things. But what truly brings elation to you in your life?
I think it's easy, man. Of course, you know, now I have my son, you know what I'm saying? And just, you know, watching him find out the things that he likes. He likes race cars and monster trucks and, you know, sports and playing music. He can play the drums already. I can show you a video. He knows how he literally is playing a rhythm.
That's awesome.
You know, I wonder where he got it from.
I wonder where.
You know what I mean?
I wonder where.
And to me, that goes without saying. So, of course, that. But, like, you know, right behind that, I would say making music. That's my favorite thing. I was in the studio before I came here early in the morning, and that's probably what I'm going to go do as soon as I take the tour.
Yep.
I'm going to probably just jump back into music, man. That's what I do. That's why I got so much finished, completed music on my hard drive because I'm
stay in the studio.
Yeah, I stay in the studio. I'm so into it. You know what I mean? So I think that is what brings me the most elation, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you truly do it like that and you live it, I mean, that's, you know, I was doing music before I went to LA, but I don't think I was truly doing music till I went to LA because I didn't live it until there. You know, like I did it every day, but, you know, I went home and you know, from the studio. In LA, I didn't go out there and get an apartment. I got a studio and I lived in the studio.
Yeah, right.
So I did that for 18 months and lived in the lobby of the studio. So every day was studio life, every day, constantly.
Exactly.
And that is what taught me and trained me and what probably brought the most out in me.
Yeah, nah,
you know, so you have to live it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, it's great to have you. Can you tell everybody your socials and where they can find your music and all that stuff?
Yeah, man. Shagadelic 504 on all social sites. That's SHAGGADELIC 504. I think I'm gonna change that to the Shag. You know,
we'll figure that one out.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure that out. But yeah, Shagadelic 504 on all socials and on the music streaming services, Shagadelic, and that will bring you to my life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll go take a listen, guys. And if you're not a subscriber of Elation Podcast, please like and subscribe. Great to have you guys. Great to have you.